Today we're going to be working on the Op Art Tubes drawing. This project's relatively easy. First things first, draw lines going from top to bottom that are kind of curved. Do not make all the lines perfectly the same. You want to have a little variation, break them up a little bit. Do not make them sharp angles though, keep the lines very curved. Alright, draw a line down the center. This is going to be your horizon line. It's going to separate the top from the bottom. Pick one of your tubes and draw curved lines. Now if you're above the horizon line, curve your lines downward so it looks like a frown. If you're below the horizon line, curve your lines upward so it looks like a smile. Yes, you do have to make the lines curved. Don't go too large with the curves. Gentle curves are much better. If you make any mistakes, feel free to erase them. These lines you're drawing in can be close together or far apart. Try not to make them so close together though that they're right on top of each other. You do need a little bit of separation. I like to vary my tubes so that some of them have more than others. Again, take your time with the curved lines. Avoid getting anything that's really straight. You want to make sure, again, it's a nice curved line. So again, everything above the horizon line looks like a frown line. Everything below looks like you're making a smile. After this part, we're going to start using a Sharpie. And yes, you are going to have to outline every single thing you've just drawn. So keep that in mind. This is a very repetitive project. It takes a little bit of time. You have to remember where you are in the system. Okay. Alright. So I'm getting close to being done here. I've got a lot of curved lines. I will have to fix a few in a little bit. But for right now, I'm just going to go back over with my Sharpie. Typically, a regular Sharpie is fine. If you want to use a fine tip one, you can, but I prefer just a regular Sharpie. So first things first, I'm going to outline all my lines. I like to typically go left to right, that way the ink dries before I put my hand on top of it again. But for this one, I'm going to start out in the center one. This is kind of like my prototype. So I'm covering all those lines. And again, even if you kind of go off the pencil mark, just keep going with it. Don't worry about any little mistakes. Again, we're going to be doing some erasing in a little bit. And again, I like going from left to right just so that I don't accidentally smear the paper with my hand going across the ink. It's just a good practice. You don't have to do it this way. I just find it takes a lot of issues out of the game. Alright, so again, outline every single line, back and forth. Now in a minute or so, we're going to start picking colors to color these in. I like to use the same two colors that are right next to each other. So what I mean is either doing, say, a light red and a dark red, or say a red and an orange. You want to pick colors that are very close to each other. I just find that colors right next to each other are easier on the eye and make this project work a little bit easier for you. Now once you've picked your colors, you are going to have to start at one point, color in solid. Let's say you picked red to start with. Then you're going to have to go to the next one, will have to be orange. And the next band will be red again. Orange, red, orange bands. So whichever one of these little tubes you want to start with, you're going to pick two colors just for that one tube, and you're going to totally color in each of those little bands as solid as you can. This is not a project that you can scribble on. It has to be super solidly colored in or the illusion is completely lost. Alright, so I've cleaned up all my little oopses. Now I'm ready to start coloring. Alright, so red, orange. So I'm going to start again in the middle. Now the trick to this optical illusion is making it look like there's a light source and that these tubes are bending. So see how I went really dark on the outside edge of the tube with my red, and then as I got towards the center I went light, and then went back to the other edge and went darker again? This is the trick. You want to imagine the dead center of each of these tubes is the lightest point, and the edges of each tube is the darkest point. So you're going to push down a little bit harder when you're on the edges, and as you work your way to the center, you're going to let up on the pressure with the pencil and leave a little bit of a white spot in the dead center. The trick though is you got to remember red, orange, or whatever your color is. It doesn't really matter as long as your two colors keep alternating back and forth, back and forth. Alright, so again, I'm going really dark on the edges of my little band. I'm pushing down way harder than I am when I get to the center. And that's basically all you have to keep doing. repeat this process over and over. A lot of artists like doing this one just because it's good practice for shading, and it's also a good value test. And to be honest with you, it's super easy to do. You don't have to put a lot of thought into it, and you can just kind of veg out and take your time with it. But you know, it's a very enjoyable project. Alright, so I'm getting close to the top. And again, I just want to repeat myself here where I'm pushing down really hard on the outside of the band. So I'm getting a much darker red. And as I work my way to the center, I'm letting up. It's getting kind of pink-like. And I am leaving a little bit of white paper showing as my highlight. So again, I'm creating the illusion of depth and value just by pressing down hard and letting up on the pressure. And it doesn't really matter which two colors you start with or where you start with them. Once you've made your commitment though, just kind of keep that in mind. Pick a color that's next to it, and then keep going back and forth. Now for this project, you could use markers and crayons, pastels, but to be totally honest, I just find that this is such an easy project to do with colored pencils that I prefer it that way. I mean, all you really need is a set of colored pencils and a Sharpie. You could get away without even having a pencil, but let's be honest, pencils are always good to have in art. So again, I'm almost at the bottom here. Dark to light, light to dark. Keep the pattern going back and forth. Alright, so now I'm going to start picking my colors, filling in the gaps. Each of the tubes should be a slightly different color. So again, for this project, I only use analogous colors right next to each other. And the illusion works out pretty well. I'm very happy with this, and I hope you had a good time with this project. Again, take your time with your coloring. That is the key to success. And have a good time.